Welcome on into a Thursday edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinberg alongside Thomas Carinante. I've been licking my lips for this one since last night, since Monday night, I guess. One of the worst series you will ever see against the Cleveland Guardians. A series in which the New York Yankees still won 2 of the 3 games, and which was wisely pointed out on Twitter yesterday. The team that probably deserved to win each game in this series went 0-3 in the series, because there's no way the Yankees earned yesterday's win. There is no way the Guardians earned Monday's win, and the Yankees probably shouldn't have won the middle game either. Tanner Bybee dominated them for a long time. They stole one late with some an Anthony Volpe homer and a Willie Calhoun homer, and Michael King acting as the closer. All in all, a series that made you question Aaron Boone's sanity over and over and over again. And when he described his plan, it only made it worse. We're going to talk about the series that we now know the Yankees won, so you got to add that caveat to every point. But what a whirlwind of stupidity this 3-game set was. And in the middle of it, you had Brian Cashman calling his own press conference. Is he going to avoid the Carlos Rodón contract on the spot? Why is he doing this? No, turns out he just wants to look everybody in the eyes and say, don't count us out. Great, Brian, we'll talk about you too. Plus a couple old friends, one potential new friend the Yankees could sign to help fill out this roster, and more on that Rodón absence. But you can find us live on YouTube Mondays and Thursdays, 2 o'clock Eastern, and on all your podcast audio feeds immediately after Apple, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. I'm going to stop saying Google Podcasts. I don't really know what Google Podcasts is. Does anybody use that? Like, I know we're on it, and I know it gives us listens. If you use Google Podcasts, shout it out in the chat. But I feel like you're probably an Apple or Spotify person based on our data. And so you can find us there as well as any other podcast platform. Please subscribe, rate, review, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're here and you're not subscribed. And Thomas Carinante has a special offer for our subscribers.
Yes, everybody in the New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut area. DraftKings is here to help us out. We're trying to have some fun. Little micro bets? I don't know. Head on over to DraftKings.com or download the DraftKings app. If you're a first-time user, punch in the code YanksGoYard when you're signing up. If you bet $5 on any sport, you get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I don't know if they have, will Aaron Boone be fired soon? I would be betting, I want to bet for that, but you can't because you know he's going to manage out this entire contract.
There's no chance.
No. Again, just keep betting the Yankees under. I don't know what the over-under was when they scored the 4 runs, but maybe if it was 3.5, I guess, I don't know. Either way, keep betting the Yankees under because that seems to be the trending bet thus far because they still can't get any offense going. But this is the offer. Yanks Go Yard is the code for first-time users. It's a minimum $5 deposit and wager required. New customers only. Must be 21 and present in New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut. If you have a gambling problem and you're in New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. If you're in New Jersey, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. If you're in Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. See full terms at DraftKings.com or in the description below. This helps support the podcast, guys, so head on over there. This is a really good deal, especially if you're looking to get into betting. We got NFL. We don't have any NFL, actually. We have NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, MLB action. We got some golf. There's plenty of stuff to go around. And like I said, just keep riding the trends with the Yankees because nothing's going to change. These injuries are piling up, and we're about to get into that because we got a lot to talk about today, right, Adam?
Yeah, there's no safer bet than somebody who doesn't really know that much about the Yankees asking you why they haven't fired Aaron Boone yet. And you just kind of have to be like, they're not going to, though. And the person's like, why not? He doesn't manage well and they don't win important games. And you're like, I don't know what to tell you. They're just not going to do it. It's not going to happen. And that's where we are after this past couple days of objective insanity, where, you know, Aaron Boone can't be blamed because the roster is not good enough and the roster is injured. But Brian Cashman can't be blamed because it's injuries. It's a bunch of bad luck. It's all taken away from his master plan. But his master plan was to sign a bunch of injury-prone guys and not provide any depth for them and not provide any fail-safe in the instance they got injured again. And so it's nobody's fault but Mrs. Fate. The fates have conspired against the Yankees. There was no way to foresee Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge getting hurt. There was nothing they could have done about it. And then Brian Cashman said something like, it's not the NBA. You can't just pluck people out of other teams' G League. And Chris Kirschner was like, I just covered the NBA. You don't do that in the NBA either. So I don't know what Brian Cashman's talking about. But I think the most important thing is Aaron Boone's survival and Aaron Boone getting out of this series alive. Again, they had to win this series, and they did. Because you and I don't think the Yankees are some great shakes and like, oh, this is the beginning of glory to God. Our championship run starts today. But heading into Tampa after getting swept in this series, maybe being 15-17 with 3 games against the Rays coming up, followed by some A's games, followed by 4 more against the Rays, and then 4 more in Toronto, you're dead in the water. So the Yankees wouldn't be alive if they had not won this series. And in order to win this series, it took some heroics in game 2. It took, Anthony Volpe finding the short porch. It took Willie Calhoun homering in game 2 of the set. It took Willie Calhoun homering again in game 3 of the set. If they don't get Rake Bowers back, they don't win this series. If they don't get a weird Emmanuel Clase outing in the rain, they don't win this series. If they don't get the ghost runner, they definitely don't win this series. But the only game of this series they maybe should have won was Domingo Germán on the mound in game 1, up 2-0 in the 9th, a game that was just zooming by to the point where I was getting, this is the first time in the pitch clock era where I'm getting notifications about the game, and I'm like, this isn't correct. I'm getting Talking Yanks notifications while I'm watching the Rangers. Yes, I watched Rangers game 7, where they lost to the Devils for a multitude of reasons. Chief among them, game 7 of the playoffs, but the other one being, look, I'm a superstitious man. If I'm not watching a game and Domingo Germán is throwing a 1-hit shutout, I'm going to go ahead and keep not watching that game and just learning the information as it comes. And I'll watch if I have to. But I'm hoping to not have to because I'm receiving updates and I'm like, oh my God, through 5, through 6. When I got the notification that said, should Domingo Germán be brought out for the 8th? I genuinely was like, it's 8:42. Like, there's no way. Like, that has to be a joke tweet where they're like, he's great through 5. Should he pitch 8? We're all laughing. And I know it's the bottom of the 7th. So easy win. The Yankees can't hit, but they have 2 runs. That's enough. Your pitcher's throwing a 1-hitter. Gets the first out of the 9th. And then the notifications go. I'll never forget this. Domingo Germán will come back out for the 9th. A minute later, Domingo Germán retires first batter in the 9th. After that, Domingo Germán is being replaced with 1 on and 1 out. Cool. Fine. I'm rolling my eyes a little bit. Next notification. Oh, fuck. That's the entirety of the notification. So then I put the game on. Then I take the Rangers off and put the game on because I have to, and I watch the carnage develop. Aaron Boone, you know you're going to get killed for taking Germán out here. You know if Germán stays in the game, gives up a home run, you're going to get killed. But you're going to get killed less, right? I think fans have a little patience for that. But what the nuance was lost, the nuance that was lost online was there's another option. You can leave Domingo Germán in. Fine. I understand his stats against the top of the order the 4th time through. You could take him out for Clay Holmes. Really dumb, really stupid, didn't work. Or you could take him out for Michael King, who is the best pitcher in this bullpen. Or you could take him out for Wandy Peralta. Or you could take him out for Ron Marinaccio. Clay Holmes might be a closer again someday, but his 5.5 ERA since the Alex Verdugo walk-off game would insinuate he's not a closer right now. So if you want to get him right, use him in the 6th inning. Do not use him to end somebody's masterpiece. And then, Thomas, spoiler alert, he does it again 2 days later.
I don't get it. You look at how this transpired too. Obviously, you have the starting pitcher going this late. I am of the philosophy if they can't hit the starting pitcher stays in. Like if you lose with that progressing as the way that it is, then that's just the way life's going to roll for you.
88 pitches. 88 pitches. It's not normal. Like he's not 120 and going on fumes. Yeah. He's under 90.
Under 90, had 83 coming into the inning. So it was like you had a lot of leeway to work with there. And it wasn't even the change that got me. Obviously, it was you're sitting there and you're like, okay, it's got to be Michael King, right? And then it wasn't, and it was Clay Holmes, and you're like, why are we doing this?
King warmed up twice.
Yeah,
by
King
the
warmed
way,
up twice,
for everybody. King is hot.
Don't understand what happened there. The biggest thing for me was after the game, Aaron Boone's asked about it, and he said he made the switch to Clay Holmes because of Domingo Germán's trouble with the home run ball. The next batter was Amed Rosario. He has 1 homer on the year and is OPSing 580.
And we destroyed him this series. I know the Guardians are struggling too, but
yeah.
The Yankees had trouble. Their hitters in the Guardians lineup the Yankees have trouble with. Jose Ramirez, obviously. Yeah. Josh Naylor, we've been doing better with of late. But there are guys we have history with. Quan kills us.
Mm-hmm.
Amed Rosario is tucked right in between all those trouble spots. And even Clay Holmes a couple weeks ago when he loaded the bases, he was like, oh, good, I can exhale now because Amed Rosario's up. Clark Schmidt got Amed Rosario a couple times yesterday. Like, he is the landing spot in the middle of this lineup that the Yankees love to attack. So I'm not Aaron Boone. I'm not making these decisions. But for me, it's pretty easy to go, Quan's on. That guy's a pest. Tell Domingo to forget about the runner. He's going to steal second. Maybe we gun him down. But just focus on Rosario. Get the second out. And then maybe I pull him for Jose Ramirez. Maybe I bring in King for Jose Ramirez. But that's
maybe. And if that was the choice, then sure, that's fine. I can understand it. You don't mention the home run ball with the next batter as Amed Rosario. And obviously, this could have been very different if Clay Holmes just fielded the ground ball and threw it to first base. That's why we're pretty much here talking about it. But he could not face the heart of the lineup with Jose Ramirez and Josh Naylor coming up next. He gave up 2 hits there, and that's pretty much what ended it. Then you go to Wandy Peralta really quick. He's probably not as warmed up as he should be. Walk, strikeout, walk. Then you lost the lead at that point. It was the explanation for me that put me over the edge. I understand if Aaron Boone is the manager who is going to ruin the hot hand. We just know that that's kind of how he operates with starting pitching performances, with relief performances. You want to fast forward to last night. Ron Marinaccio's cruising 1 2/3 innings. He's at 23 pitches. He's thrown 17 strikes. He's killed this Guardians lineup. He makes the pitching change for Miles Straw, who's hitting 247 with a 608 OPS coming into this series. That is nobody that you need to be worried about. It wasn't Jose Ramirez. It wasn't a fearsome lefty batter. It wasn't the best hitter in the lineup. It was another marginal hitter at best who had a little bit of speed, which I guess you can worry about if he gets on base. But I don't know what the thought process is there, especially if it's righty on righty. It wasn't even a matchup thing. It wasn't lefty versus righty. It wasn't righty versus lefty. So you're making the pitching change for 2 hitters who are not good, for a pitcher who's having trouble locating and who is giving up contact. And it's giving the bad or average hitter a better chance to get on base. And that's what happened both of those times. So the explanation, the bad managing simply needs to stop, especially when you're in a precarious situation like this. You have a ton of injuries. You don't have a fully healthy bullpen. You have 1 starting pitcher who's like fully capable. And then the craziest thing was that you get 8+ innings out of your second worst starter, and you end up losing the game. That's unforgivable. That's where a lot of people are drawing the line. And I know everyone took to social media after, and they were yelling about, who to put in and who to leave in and whatever. And that's all fine. But people should have been more enraged with both of these explanations that Boone had after these games, because they don't add up with the actual move that he made.
Last night's was the craziest because when I first saw the quote that basically, I think it was SNY who tweeted it, and they said something about Boone, standing by his decision, saying Holmes was the guy or whatever. And my immediate reaction was to be like, I like him standing by his pitcher. I like him backing his pitcher, but I don't agree with the decision. And then I actually watched the video, and that's not what he was doing at all. He was saying Holmes was always going to be the guy in that spot. That spot being 2 outs and nobody on in the 9th with Miles Straw up and a pinch hitter for Cam Gallagher. What logic book has that in there? Like, I didn't understand a single part of this move.
It's not a scenario to plan for. You're never expecting that to happen.
He goes, I was wondering if I should have squeezed an extra one batter out of Ron Marinaccio because he pitched the day before. And you know what? That is the answer. You do squeeze one more out. And if Ron lets Miles Straw on base and he's 30 pitches deep, then you can consider bringing in Clay Holmes or somebody else. But there's no reason to pull Marinaccio there with an 8-9 up. And there's no logical reason to say that should be Clay's guy unless you were trying to get Clay Holmes right against the bottom of Cleveland's order, which is what everybody was saying. Like, Boone got too cute. Boone wanted to get Clay Holmes some rehabs, pitches against Miles Straw and the ghost of Cam Gallagher, who became Oscar Gonzalez. And so he wanted to bring his, rehabbing pitcher in against some wimpier hitters. But unfortunately, it was a 2-2 game with 2 outs and nobody on in the 9th inning and not the 5th inning of a game he was losing 5-1. You got to bring in Clay Holmes in the middle innings in a Rays game because Michael King's getting a couple days off now.
Yeah.
Friday, I better see Clay Holmes in the game, and I better see him in the 6th inning. No matter, like, if the score is 2-2 and the starter's got to get pulled, it's Brito, so the bullpen's going to have to eat some innings. I better see Holmes in that scenario rather than King, and I better see them hold King back for the back end. And then you bring in Holmes in the 9th, right? In the rain, in the wetness, with command issues, and he has command issues, and the velo's down to 94, according to the S broadcast. And he, gets blooped to death. IKF kicks Bader in the head because they both run for the ball. That's Bader's ball, obviously. So much goes wrong there. But Holmes does get out of the 9th. And the Yankees do tie the game in the bottom of the 9th. Emmanuel Clase, erratic, surprisingly erratic. Willie Calhoun is good. Oswald Peraza turns his ankle and needs x-rays. It's a whole cluster. But we get to the 10th. And I'm like, all right, well, that's why they brought in Clay Holmes, right? So that he could get the last out of the 9th, which he ultimately did, and then pitch extras. And Albert Abreu was on the mound. He did the job.
Yeah.
So, like, you feel weird second-guessing that today. He got, again, Ahmed Rosario. All he does is make big outs against the Yankees. They intentionally walk Ramirez. Naylor grounds into a special athletic double play turned by Gleyber Torres and Volpe. So you feel weird getting on the, on the mic today and being like, what was that about though? But what was that about though? Like your plan was to bring Holmes in for the last out of the 9th and then pull him? Like in your dream world, he gets Straw and then leaves?
Well, he couldn't at that point. He would need to face 3 batters, right?
No, if you finish the inning, you can just leave.
That's crazy. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I forget. You know what? The bullpen is the bullpen. He's not good at managing the bullpen. We know that. The other things that got me, which perfectly to segue into, was IKF getting his first career start in left field.
And he admitted he had no idea what was going on and said, I haven't had reps here all year. Oh,
ever.
Great. Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
He never had reps there. He had reps on the left side of the infield. That's been his experience on that side of the field. So if you needed to do this, great. If you're doing it with Garrett Cole on the mound, I think that's more reasonable, and I can understand it. You did this with Clark Schmidt on the mound. Clark Schmidt has been giving up a ton of hard contact. Clark Schmidt has been giving up a ton of hits. Clark Schmidt has been batting practice more times than not this season. So if you're going to put IKF in at left field, a position he really has never played, center field already in that situation is still a stretch because you're putting him in there with a pitcher who is going to there's a lot of balls that are going to be put in play and they're going to be hit hard. And somebody who's never played the outfield before is going to have trouble judging them. It didn't matter innings 1 through 8, but guess what? It mattered in inning 9 when IKF had to make 2 tough plays. Well, 1 really.
The first one was not that tough. The first one,
it got lost in the lights. You could see that getting lost in the lights. He clearly lost it, which I can understand. The second one was that was inexperience in playing left field, and then you're almost going to get Harrison Bader hurt at that point. I mean, he is hurt. I don't know if he's going to play tomorrow.
He is hurt.
He's going to be sore as shit tomorrow. I don't know how he's going to be able to start that series against the Rays, but it is what it is. And then we can rewind back to the 8th inning when IKF steals second and then gets to third on the Higashioka sacrifice fly. And Aaron Boone, well, I don't know whose fault it was, but based on how the play went, it looked like IKF was told to run on contact.
Yeah.
Because Anthony Volpe hit a rocket of a ground ball to third base. Jose Ramirez gobbled it up quickly and threw IKF out. The ball left his hand when IKF was less than halfway down the third baseline. So I don't know who. I don't entirely know who there is to blame, but based on how IKF had his head down, the second contact was made, it seemed like the third base coach was told to tell IKF, you are going on contact, doesn't matter where it is. So those are two egregious decisions, one putting IKF in left field, and then two telling him to run on contact regardless of where the ball is hit in that eighth inning when the game is tied and you have one out and you have a multitude of ways to get the run across. So two ways at the Yankees. That's two ways in 2/3 of an inning where the Yankees were put in a horrible position. And then you go to the bullpen decisions in game 1 and then the end of game 3. And I don't know what's going on here. I really don't.
We have to assume that the contact play is taught by the Yankees based on how often they use the contact play. And I would say lose that page of your preparation, because it absolutely never works.
Never.
The hot shot grounder to third. Oh, we got to test the third baseman's metal. Every third baseman is like, I've been doing this since Little League. I'm going to lob the ball to home plate and get you out. And they only do the contact play on crucial runs, like this tie game, bottom of the 8th. They're trying to manufacture a run there. IKF single, IKF steal, goes to third. Volpe rip job right out of third baseman. Volpe was ripping the ball all day yesterday. Got ripped off by Will Brennan in right field the other day. Got ripped off, ripping these balls to Steven Kwan. Like, it's just, he's making hard contact every time he's up, but they're hitting him right at Cleveland players. Cleveland's making acrobatic plays. And that was another one. A beam team right at Jose Ramirez. And he's like, all right, great. I'm going to flip it home and ruin your inning because you have no idea how to handle yourself on the base paths. That all of this said, and Bader is an absence that we might have to plan for, because Boone said he's okay, but who could possibly know? He got kicked in the head and left the game. And if they lose him for a while without Aaron Judge, he's like the one guy we can't lose. We just fought to get him back. You're going to have IKF in center field. Yeah. Like, you're going to have IKF in center field a lot if Harrison Bader has to miss games. And we're going to the Trop. So IKF, good luck with the ceiling that looks like translucent skin. Hope you know how to find baseballs. The Tampa Bay Rays are about to sweep the Pirates. They're 25-6. It's not worth even considering. Like, when we said don't pay attention to the Rays earlier in the season, it wasn't to say because they're bad. It was just because they're incredibly good. They're going to come off this pace at some point, but the Yankees can't worry about what they're doing because they're either going to fall back to the pack or run away and hide. And you can't expect, we get on Cashman, we get on Boone. You can't expect the Yankees to be 25-6. So sometimes you just run into stuff like this. It is what it is. That's what we're saying. We say don't pay attention to the Rays. But obviously you're going to have to this weekend because you're playing them and you have to be prepared. And your roster is very subpar. Although you're going to get a Garrett Cole start in there, which should be helpful. You were not originally going to get one of those. Nestor Cortez's strep throat pushes him back into the A's series. He looked healthy to me yesterday, throwing gum in the air after Treby's walk-off. But apparently strep throat, and he's having a tough time. So fingers crossed. That said, all that said, so much said, the Yankees get their 4th and 5th comeback wins of the season, which is deranged. The least in baseball is 3, by the way. It's the Rockies and the Nationals. So congrats to the Yankees for distancing themselves from those guys a little bit. FYI, the Red Sox have 18 wins, and 13 of them are comeback wins. So it just sucks that Red Sox fans are getting to enjoy their renaissance after acting like Chaim Bloom was a stupid moron who killed their dog all offseason. It's like if every Yankees fan bashed Brian Cashman, but then the Yankees were extremely good instead of incredibly bad. But sadly, we bash Cashman and they get worse. They bash Bloom and then pretend like they never bashed him and get to have a great time with their 13 comeback wins out of 18 victories, which is insane. It is worth giving credit to Willie Calhoun.
Yeah.
Who nobody wants to give credit to, and I know why, because it does represent Brian Cashman in the front office just going, that guy.
Yeah.
And then Aaron Boone saying Willie Calhoun can bang, and everybody going, no, he can't. His last 8 games, 346, 357, 577. Good for a 155 WRC plus, 2 bombs, 5 ribs, and a 56% hard hit percentage. Those numbers from Fireside Yanks. And Jake Bauers comes in last night, hits a bomb to right, posts an Instagram story saying, thank God I'm a Yankee, and is immediately like our 4th best player. So shout out to those two. I don't know how long Calhoun will last. Probably not long, but at least we got the Franchi contribution out of him. And Bauers, I need more of. Bauer should be starting like every day. It's a sweet swing. He's got confidence, bravado. He gave some great quotes last night about how he knew what to expect and hits Bieber well, and they were teammates, but he has good numbers off him career. Jake Bauer's that swing is built for Yankee Stadium, and as long as we got him in the system, he should be on the roster. Yeah. As long as he's on the roster, he should be starting.
Yeah, I thought he should have been in left field last night. But literally when the lineup card came out, I was like, why is IKF in left? And why isn't Bowers in left and Oswaldo Cabrera in right and Bader in center? You have an off day today. You don't need to rest Oswaldo Cabrera. He's a young guy. He's not somebody who needs to be taken off his feet unless there's something going on there that we don't know.
I don't know what they're doing with him. I mean, he can't hit either.
I know he's having trouble, but can IKF hit? No, he's batting. He's worse. So at that point, it's like, what are you doing? You're putting somebody at a completely unfamiliar position who's not as good of a hitter, who is a right-handed hitter when you have a problem balancing out the lineup with lefties. So like you could have added another lefty in there against Bieber, which would have made sense. And you obviously see the athleticism on Bowers too. And you're like, great, you can have a pretty athletic outfield with Bowers in left, Cabrera in right, where he's most comfortable, and Bader obviously covering center. I thought that was, I whispered that to myself pregame, and I said, you know what? The team's decimated with injuries. Why are you going to complain about this? And then Harrison Bader almost breaks his neck in center field. And I said, you know what? Now I'm going to complain about this because there was almost a death on the field with IKF trying to make up for the play before and rocketing into center field like that. But yep, I want to see more Bowers. It's a great swing. Hopefully they unlock something at AAA based on the results that we broke down like 2 episodes ago, when you see his minor league career has been mediocre at best. And then you see this stretch of play that he's never had before. And you're like, okay, maybe they figured something out mechanic wise. So and great attitude. Talk about great attitude after that walk-off. Jose Trevino getting the crowd all pumped up, talking about how those are the true Yankee fans waiting there until the end, completely energized, and talking about how he loves how the team fights and they're going to persevere through the injuries. Just better lip service than what anybody who's front-facing in this organization provides. You have Brian Cashman's press conference yesterday. Let's get into that, because that was one of the worst things I've ever seen. And I didn't even watch the whole thing. I just watched the clips because I knew if I sat through the whole thing, my mental health would be in jeopardy, and I didn't want to do that to myself.
I'm glad they fed us the quotes, because again, I'm not gathering to watch Brian Cashman. And Jack Curry, who was nice enough to be on our podcast this week. If you haven't seen the video or listened to the audio feed yet, please do. But he said during the rest of the broadcast on Yes, he was like, I sat down next to Cashman first, and I said, do you have anything to announce to us? Because he was just as confused as everybody else why Cashman was calling a press conference in the middle of the season. I'm resigning. I've pulled off an improbable trade. I'm flipping IKF and Donaldson back to the Twins for Gio Urshela, who's now on the Angels. I don't know, but he apparently had nothing to say. He just wanted to apparently be getting a lot of requests for media availability and just wanted to talk to everybody because people are banging down his door. Look, he did take on the blame for creating this shitstorm in a way. He said the failures of the 22 deadline are on me, and he didn't have to do that because he could have blamed injuries, because Scott Efros getting Tommy John isn't technically his fault. And, Benintendi's wrist snapping isn't technically his fault. But that said, the Montas thing is almost directly his fault. And, the Lou Trevino, Tommy John surgery is just another feather in his cap. Bader was injured when he got him. That's 2 guys, one who was on the injured list and one who was lying about an injury when he got him. So he's got to take blame for that. And he didn't shift it to the IL or anything like that. The con, it was so corny. Looking me in the eye saying, don't count me out. No one's counting the Yankees out. We just want accountability. We're not expecting good things, but no one is there in the beginning of May to say the season is over. And if you are, then you're not considering things from a realistic standpoint. We're just there to all acknowledge together, look each other in the eye and say, you didn't do enough. So to turn it into a rah-rah, don't count us out speech is a pretty embarrassing deflection. Doesn't really answer the question at hand. And at the end of the season, if you do get counted out, if you get beaten, then you can just say, those are the breaks. We never got healthy or whatever happens. So this just delays things, kicks the can down the line. And his answer to what the bigger than Rodón deal was extremely embarrassing. It sounded like an infielder trade, which we all knew was coming, looking to shop Gleyber Torres, looking to shop Peraza. It's no grand news to us that you were trying to do that. And he said, Obviously we weren't done, like Hal said. We were trying to make a deal, but you never want to make a bad deal. You never want to make a bad deal, but you've just made like 9 straight bad deals. So saying I work to avoid bad deals, which is why we couldn't get anything done, grinded my gears. And then you add in the additional element of him saying, Hal Steinbrenner saying we're not done, was Hal saying this roster still has flaws and we have to fill them. And then Cashman's admitting that he couldn't figure out how to do that. Saying, all right, well, Hal said we weren't done, but then I shopped around and nobody had anything we really wanted and they wanted too much from us and we couldn't find a middle ground. Okay, so the roster's not good enough because you just stopped. You stopped. You weren't able to get the job done. Isn't that the job of a GM, trying to improve the roster at every turn and finding an unorthodox way to do it? Cashman, I don't think is the greatest clown or grandest villain or dumbest man on earth, but the fact remains he's had 25 years to do this and he's playing on easy mode.
Yeah,
he has the Yankees resources, even in a down year, even when the Yankees are restricting their own finances for whatever reason, even when you get Josh Donaldson and everyone's like, please don't let this stop you from spending though. And he's like, I won't, but then it does. Like, even when that happens, he's still playing on easy mode compared to so many other people. And you should be able to do better than one World Series by now during this long post-dynasty tenure. You just should. And I understand a lot of other franchises and fan bases are like, 1 in 20 years, why are you crying? I know. I totally understand that. And 1 is not 0. I get it. But he's playing on easy mode, and 1 is way lower than expectations for a team that wins 95 games every year, makes the playoffs every year, enters the crapshoot every year undermanned compared to the way they should have been, and isn't able to get the job done. 1 is below expectations.
Yeah, and the one was because a $500 million expenditure in the offseason was approved by George Steinbrenner the year before he died.
Let's be honest. George Steinbrenner was ill, and wanted to see a World Series and approved this gigantic spending excursion, and luckily did. Steve won in 2009, although it's unclear how much he was comprehending at that time, and then passed away, and then they never again did that.
But you and I could have made the moves that were made that year. Yes. Any Yankee fan who was 18 or older at that point could have said, okay, who are the best free agents? Oh, George, I have this much money to spend. Thank you, sir. Okay, great. Let's get the finance team in here and figure out how we're going to do this. We would have went after the same players. So it's not like there was no heavy lifting there to be done that was incomprehensible from a baseball operation standpoint. And Cashman's response to the whole thing, there's 2 problems there for me. One, saying we're not done yet means that you have something else in the works, at least based on how you framed it. So you are getting a bunch of people excited and having people under the assumption like, oh, wow, like they've been working behind the scenes, like something else is churning here. And they never did. They were just trying. They said, oh, okay, well, we got these 3 big moves done, and we're still not done because the roster is not complete.
Yes.
So we're going to work as hard as we can to figure it out. It's like, no, you can say, hey, we are still exploring other options. We don't know what's going to happen yet, but we're not. We're going to do our best before the offseason ends to make more additions. And if nothing happened, everyone would have been like, oh, okay, like obviously you knew something got in their way, because every year we have this conversation with the Yankees front office. They get blackballed by other teams. There's the Yankees tax and trades. Nobody wants to make the Yankees better because it makes them look worse in the media. You know how all this works. So if you're going to go to the media and speak to the fans and say, we're not done yet, you better have something in the works. Secondly, Cashman talking about how you don't want to make a bad deal. You said it. You just made 8 straight bad deals, and the team is in a worse off position for it. And at this point, I don't know if this front office can sit here and properly evaluate on paper what is a bad deal and what's not. And that's a partial dig at them just because they've made so many deals at this point that they thought were good that weren't good. But also, there's no prognosticating these anymore. It's very, unless you're trading an MVP player for a bench player, you don't know how the trades are going to pan out. If you have information on a certain player and maybe you're like slightly overpaying for somebody, the deal could end up in your favor. It all depends on how that person handles change of scenery, how the pitching staff handles the acquired pitchers' arsenal of pitches. It depends where you're, what batter you're acquiring and where you're placing him in the lineup. That's going to help him be the most comfortable. So yeah, on paper, Brian Cashman saying he doesn't think he's getting enough value in return for someone like IKF. Like, that might not be of the same opinion for what we think, because someone like IKF, in theory, should have just been non-tendered. Someone like Gary Sanchez should have just been non-tendered. Save the money, let them go elsewhere, figure it out, eat the wrong decision. And that's what it comes down to. The Yankees, once again, needed to see this trade either play out or get requisite value in return, kind of like what they did with Gallo. In most people's opinions, Gallo should have been gone after that second half of 2021. It was really bad. It was going to be really hard to rebound from that. And Cashman knew at that point there was no getting anything close to in return for what he thought the value was. And at that point, it doesn't matter what you think. You need to go on and make a move and figure it out and change something up. So those are my two issues with the presser, especially because nobody asked for this. I think that's the most important part. Nobody asked for this. Nobody wanted to hear this. Nobody cared. Nobody got any new information out of this except for the clown explanation on the "we're not done yet" situation.
You know what the sad reality is too? There's no such thing as a bad deal if you win the World Series.
Correct.
Like, people are still victory lapping on trading for Nick Swisher. It was circulating on Twitter the other day, like Michael Fishman's first big move, and the reason he's the head of the analytics department was because he spearheaded the Nick Swisher move. And Nick Swisher was great in 2009, and they won the World Series, and great in 2010, and fine in 2011, and so bad in 2012 that he got booed off the field because he made a bad defensive play and Derek Jeter fractured his ankle, right? It's a rise and fall. But now Nick Swisher is viewed as the paragon of a great under-the-radar pickup, and he comes back, and he's the Yankees banner captain. He's at spring training every year. He's hyping people up because he won the World Series. The A.J. Burnett contract was awful, but he won the World Series. He won Game 2 of the World Series himself. The Yankees won the 2009 World Series with 3 starting pitchers. That's how you get lucky. They didn't even fill out the rotation. Who's starting Game 4 after CC Burnett, not that good, and Andy Pettitte? Chad Godin, Sergio Mitre, who's in jail, Jabba Chamberlain, who was in the bullpen, Phil Hughes, who was so bad early in the season and got thrown to the bullpen. Like, we forget about all of these warts on the roster because they won the World Series. So if you get one out of a deal, then you've done your job. And Brian Cashman knows that at this point, and he knows that he's being judged harshly and more harshly because he can't deliver one. If he got lucky, he'd get one. Anyone can win the World Series. The season is not over, but you did not put yourself in the best position to win a World Series. And you wimped out on overpaying for somebody because you didn't want to make a bad deal after making 9 straight bad deals. If the Yankees win the World Series this year, no one will remember how much Josh Donaldson cost. That is a promise. Just get it done soon. If you're still here and you live in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, we welcome you.
Wow.
We're happy to offer you something on DraftKings if you're in one of those 3 states in the tri-state area. If you bet $5 on any sport, get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. That's not a bad deal, Brian Cashman, as long as you use the code Yanks Go Yard. That's Yanks Go Yard, just like the podcast. Minimum $5 deposit wager required. New customers only, 21 plus and present in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. You had a gambling problem? Brian Cashman apparently doesn't. He just holds all the time, which is a different kind of gambling problem. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In New Jersey, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. And in Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. See full terms at DraftKings.com or in the description below. Now, I don't even want to talk about Carlos Rodón, so I'm going to just bump him a little bit. Can we just not talk about him, actually? Can we just say, like, this sucks?
Yeah,
like,
sucks.
This really sucks. He has no pain in his forearm anymore, no pain in his elbow, no pain in his shoulder, no pain in his back. It just feels wrong, and he needs to go for additional tests because it's throwing off his mechanics. This is unforeseeable, I would say. This is depressing. And it's the level of depressing that makes you go, how much time left we got? 5 years and 5 months? Are we going to ever see the right version of Carlos Rodón? Because if he's lost his mechanics now, that makes you go, all right, so I'm not waiting out an injury. I'm now waiting out like a mental block or like something that goes beyond. It's sadder. It's just sadder than ever. So like we don't we have to talk about it at the 40-minute mark. We have to like say out loud what's happening with Carlos Rodón. But now I'm just depressed. I think I tripped into we might not see him mode right away in March, but now I'm kind of in like I'm not counting on him coming back. I don't know what his contributions to the team will be. And Luis Severino is making some sort of controlled rehab outing at the end of this week. Bottom line, they need Rodón and Severino back. They just do. Like Clark Schmidt is unprofessional. Clark Schmidt is always revving up to throw a 93-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle. Johnny Brito is an effective pitcher, but not a starter. Domingo Germán can be in your rotation. That's fine. But Frankie Montas is already starting a throwing program, and so is Luis Heel. And Carlos Rodón is just nowhere to be found, and it's making me profoundly sad. I feel extremely bad for Carlos Rodón. I don't have anything to say. I'm not going to vilify the deal. I'm not going to get angry about the contract. I'm just really sad, and so I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't either. You can't be mad about the contract. The only thing that comes to mind for this is like there needs to be some sort of organizational cleansing, because no decision works out, it seems, over the past however long. Even not to say the Judge deal isn't working out, but the Judge is injured within the first month of playing after signing the new deal. Something is wrong.
Yeah. That's what I want to talk about next instead of Rodón, by the way.
Great. Let's do that. That's fine with me.
Oh, great. Well, I mean,
need to talk about Rodón. I don't. I feel bad for him too. It sucks. What do you want me to say? His mystery injury.
That's the thing. It just sucks. It just makes you go, what's the point? We all say this. I think the Judge thing, I just want to get your take, because everybody is already in, Judge's hurt mode. This is year 1. What happens when it's year 4? But I still don't care about year 4, 5, 6, and certainly not 9. I do this deal 10 times out of 10.
Yeah.
All I want to talk about is the counter, which is like, nope, he's injured already. And I see how shitty this lineup is without him. And I wish we'd use that money on 2 bats who know how to get on base, 2 contact bats who know how to put the ball in play. Who are those guys?
Yeah.
I don't see those guys. Judge costs a lot of money. You could get Brandon Nimmo and Justin Turner for the next 2 years for Judge's money.
Could have got Correa and Nimmo for Judge's money.
For more money.
No, it would have been the same. Correa signed $200 million. Nimmo signed $160. $360.
Yeah, but Nimmo's $20 million a year, and Carlos Correa
you're talking about AAV.
$200 million. Yeah.
I was talking about total price.
No, so Nimmo and Correa together make $53 million. So unless you get rid of Josh Donaldson, then you can't do those in terms of AAV. It's these lame little, like, you want Benintendi and Adam Frazier, you want Yuli Gurriel on a minor league deal. Like, yeah, I get mad at Brian Cashman too, because every year somebody uncovers a Yuli Gurriel on a minor league deal, and we all go, oh, right, he's good every year and he costs no money. Oh, yeah. But like, if Brian Cashman had replaced Judge with Yoshida's contract, you would have lost your mind. Like, you're not allowed to say like, oh, he should have gotten an unproven Japanese player instead of Aaron Judge. You're not. I don't want to hear that from anybody. It's true that Yoshida looks great. It's true that Brandon Nimmo is a great fit. Apparently, they don't want to step on Steve Cohen's toes ever. But there wasn't some magic, obvious, better solution where it's like 9 years of our superstar and captain. No, we'd rather do 4 years of 2 contact hitters equals prosper. Like, I just don't see it. And if they'd save Judge's money, you know as well as I do, they're not going back into the free agent pool next. They're going, oh, good, we don't have to pay anybody $36 million this year, so we won't. There's no way they're reinvesting it right away and exploring their options. You know why I know that? Because they didn't do anything after saying they were going to do more things after signing Judge and Rodón. They were not going to do that. It's arguing with a dream. I got in an argument with someone the other day who said the same, you should have let Judge walk or whatever. And I was like, so you want Brian Cashman to lead a rebuild? And he's like, no, I want Brian Cashman fired. It's like, okay, well, you want 100 things and you have a fantasy that you live, and that's fantastic. But you need to do, like, in order to get to your world, you need to do 12 things differently. Let's focus on the one. If Judge isn't coming back, who's replacing him? Probably nobody. Probably Jake Bauers and Willie Calhoun. So count your blessings.
Yeah, or you do a Michael Conforto, Mitch Haniger situation like the Giants did after they completely fucked up. Like, is that what you want? Okay,
no,
great.
I don't want that.
Yeah, I don't know who you're running into who's saying this stuff. I think I think the one thing that I have going for me is I don't see the crazy Yankees Twitter takes.
Basically, every day I realize, why am I angry at, like, every time I come on the podcast and bring up something, I'm like, somebody said this. I'm like, why am I reading that though?
Yeah.
Like, why am I reading the dumbest guy? And I think I'm going to stop. I think I'm going to stop reading the dumbest guy. Yeah. For you is like, yeah, for you is like right wing, articles. Elon saying very interesting. We'll look into it, to somebody's idea of like, why am I not on the Twitter homepage? He's like, yes, you should be there. Very interesting. And then Yankees people being like, should have signed a new training staff with Aaron Judge's $36 million. It's like, okay, no.
Yeah, and everybody knew Aaron Judge is not playing 160 games for the next 9 years. He's not playing 160 games for the next 5 years. It's just not what happens. Show me a player who of that caliber, of that price, is unharmed for an entire season. It's not even Mike Trout has been breaking down in recent years. We haven't seen a full season from him since 2019 or something.
His career was supposed to be over last year. We're talking about like spinal stenosis stuff.
Yeah.
It gets really dicey.
So these situations are always imperfect. And if you take Judge out of this lineup, you see how bad it is. It was even not that great when he was the lone star in it, having to take on the burden of seeing all of the toughest pitches from whoever was on the mound, while they got to dice up the rest of the lineup with whatever they pleased with. So you can't take Judge out of this lineup and expect things to even turn around within the next 3 years, in my opinion, because you're still saddled by a number of other contracts, whether you'd like. To me, Giancarlo Stanton, as much as I like him as a human being and as a hitter when he's hot, that's the contract that people should be complaining about still. And it's not even Stanton's fault. It's, again, Brian Cashman's fault. That deal, DJ LeMahieu's deal, Josh Donaldson's short-term deal, even Garrett Cole's deal, I understand that was a necessary evil the team had to make. Those are holding the team back. Aaron Judge's front-facing presence and Gold Glove caliber defense and MVP level offense, even if he's missing 30 games a year, is not the problem. And it'll never be the problem. Aaron Judge is what's exactly needed in this lineup, no matter where you put him, no matter how you deploy him. If he doesn't have that season that he had last year, how many games do the Yankees win, honestly? Do they even make the playoffs? Do they win? What do they skate into the wild card with 87 wins? Is that even possible in that wild card last year? I don't know. But yeah, for all the people complaining about that, it's like, I don't know. I feel like those people got warped by everything Red Sox fans are criticizing for. I feel like Brian Cashman had that press conference yesterday because he was reading Red Sox Twitter about us being a game behind, Alex Verdugo breaking Clay Holmes, Masataka Yoshida on a 12-game. Masataka Yoshida 10 days ago was hitting .230 with a 608 OPS. And now all of a sudden he's one of the best offseason signings. So
Jarren Duran's hitting 400.
Yeah, just get out of the bad brain stuff.
Connor Wong's hit 284 with 3 bombs and a game winner and a game tire the other day. You can't plan for what the Red Sox are doing. It's just a fleet of people who were terrible last year who are carrying the offense for 2 weeks now. Honestly, I'm glad they're beating up the Blue Jays, though. Like, you just got to be at this point.
Again,
but if it gets any... Yeah.
Those are the only two ways people are comparing this. It's like, sign Judge and then be stuck with this contract, or we could hope that a bunch of mediocre or shitty players magically carry us into just above 500 baseball and we could sneak into the wild card. It's like, those are not the only two choices, because signing a bunch of bad players can make you very bad. Just, it seems to work out for the Red Sox more than other teams. I don't know why.
And we just, though, formula. We did just win this series because of Willie Calhoun and because of Jake Bauers too. Just saying, like, for those of you who want to live out the dream and try to win 86 games and win the World Series to prove that it's better than winning 100 games and going to the playoffs, then God bless you. Maybe this is your year, because I don't foresee the Yankees blowing the doors off the rest of the American League. No. And we talked about it in an article going up tomorrow. They got to make a dent in the Rays the next 2 weeks, or else they're not going to do it. Because they don't play the Rays until late in the summer. So you got 7 games with the Rays this week with you're currently the worst roster possible for the Yankees. It does not get worse than this. Say what you will about Brian Cashman and the roster construction. Doesn't get much worse than this. Right before we sign off, just going to float the names past you. These guys are probably going to get signed in the coming hours, but it feels like Yankees are in desperation mode. Gary Sanchez opted out of his deal with the Giants. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim are interested. Logan O'Hoppe is out for a long time. When it gets mentioned that the Angels are interested, kind of feels like they're going to do it. So I don't even know if we have a shot at this. 2 days ago, I would have said obvious upgrade over Willie Calhoun. Why are we even talking about this? I've been anti-Gary Sanchez forever, but if all he's going to do is DH and try to homer, then you could do worse than an 88 OPS plus last year, which he had, which was bad. But again, the Yankees were throwing way worse options in there, like Franchi and his 57 OPS plus, and Aaron Hicks, who's currently at 3. So if you're going to be throwing those guys out there, then go sign Gary Sanchez. But I don't know how you feel about this.
I don't think you can do that. You'll just
they're not gonna though.
They're not gonna. But even if it I get the sentiment behind it. It's like he's familiar here. He's had success here. He actually has power and can do something in the DH spot if he gets into a groove. But the pressure that would come with this for him wouldn't be good. The media surrounding it would be negative from the jump. It'd be like, oh, Yankees so desperate they're doing this after giving up on him 2 years ago, and he's performed even worse, or just as worse since leaving, and now they're giving him another chance. And then the pressure piles on, and then the only way this works out is if he rediscovers 2016 or 2018, and then you can be absolved from all that criticism. But that would have been a nightmare from just the media perspective. And that anything the Yankees do, there's going to be headlines for it. There's going to be, there's going to be hate blogs about it. So that would not have been a good decision in my opinion.
Nope. And I think we're lucky because we're not even going to have to really have the conversation and break down the thought process. The only other one, if you're taking stabs, and take a stab at Tommy La Stella, has not been very good since 2019. I tell you what, I wanted to sign him when he was a free agent.
Me too.
I wanted to trade for him at the 2020 deadline. He was good in 2020 for both the A's and the Angels. Giants sign him, puts a 92 OPS plus up in 76 games his first year, and that's 2021 when everybody was hitting in San Francisco, winning 107 games. Next year, he's much worse in only 60 games. This year, hits 190 in 12 games for the Mariners for a 54 OPS plus, gets DFA'd. The list of cons is large. He hits lefty. Interesting. His name is Tommy La Stella. Interesting to me. A New York Yankee fan who knows who other New York Yankee fans are. Second, third, outfield, whatever you need. He's kind of a
he
more
play outfield?
Yeah, he's played outfield before. He hasn't done it in a while, but
okay.
He's a more experienced version of Oswaldo Cabrera. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to enthusiastically come to a conclusion on any of these guys, but if you're throwing dirt at a wall, like if you're getting Cole Calhoun, maybe we see what we can do with Tommy La Stella.
Yeah, and you never know with Oswald Peraza down now, that could help you with your infield flexibility. If you want to keep DJ off his feet and put him at DH, that helps too. Lefty bat, he's not slow. I don't know if he's got his speed still necessarily.
Yeah.
But he's not slow. He's not, a lumbering option where it's like, okay, what's the point of having this guy on the bases anyway? This is depressing that we have to talk about this, but at the very least, it would be super cheap. He's versatile and he's lefty, which is all qualities that this current team needs at the moment because it's a bunch of mix and match with what Aaron Boone has to do and what he's been dealt with the injuries. I would lean yes on this over Sanchez in terms of, I don't know. I mean, again, this is not help. This is just putting a body where a body is needed. And real help is not coming for a long time. And I think that's really what we have to cope with.
He also has never played the outfield. I absolutely made that up. But if Oswaldo Cabrera can do it, then he theoretically can too. They're not going to sign either of these people. So what are we talking about? But Aaron Hicks, again, somehow worth negative 0.6 WAR in 48 at-bats this year with his 3 OPS plus. That is so hard to do. It's so hard to be that bad. He's been worse than anyone could have anticipated. And it's about damn time to cut bait. But that's it for this extremely cathartic episode screaming about Aaron Boone. There's nothing more fun. If you dream up a dream, Yankees podcast, there's nothing more fun than screaming about Aaron Boone's stupidity in a series where they still manage to win 2 out of 3 games and come out afloat. You get to say Boone's a moron, but you know what? End of day, the Yankees still kick ass. No, they don't. They're distinctly average. Their cavalry is not coming. They're not getting much better. But you know what? Wins are wins. 12-1 wins are more fun than 3-2 wins, but you bank them. Either way, that was what was so frustrating about losing the first game of the series, because you got a win stolen from you, and they went ahead and stole 2 to wrap it up. Not so bad. In the upcoming Rays series, going to be carnage, but you'd rather enter it at 17-15 than 15-17. So we'll see where we are after that wraps up. We'll be back with you on Monday, 2 o'clock Eastern, like always, every Monday and Thursday. And then you can find the audio feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, whatever platform you choose. If you're on the video feed, give us a subscribe, like the video. We appreciate you all. If you're on the audio feed, subscribe it, rate, and review. Please, until next time, you can find me on Twitter at Adam Winder, Thomas Carinante. Where can the people find you?
You can find me at Tommy's_takes. You can find us at the official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account at Yanks Go Yard FS. You can find our bylines at YanksGoYard.com. Plenty of weekend content incoming to prepare you for this Rays series. Lots to read about, lots to comment on. You guys have been doing a good job at that, so please keep it coming. And life could be worse. You could be the 14-17 Guardians. You could be the 14-16 Mariners. You could be the 10-21 Cardinals. The worst team in the National League with a pretty good roster.
Yeah.
The Padres are 17-15. That's the same record as us. So the Phillies are 15-17. I don't know. I understand there's a lot to be frustrated with. People are mad. The Mets fans are mad. They're 16-15. So look, you have a decimated roster. There's not much looking up at the moment, but theoretically you're going to get somewhat healthy. You got talent. You're staying afloat in the division above 500. So it's a long season. Jack Curry told us the other day, it's a long marathon. It's 162 games. Anything can happen month to month. You've seen crazy regressions and crazy overperformances from June to July or August to September, whatever it is. So there's plenty of time here. Plenty of time. The Rays are not winning. I mean, maybe they will win it at 25-6 clip the rest of the year. I don't know.
I mean, again, if they do, you're not tracking them down.
Yeah.
So you might as well just sit here and wave at them.
Yeah. If they do, that's life. And that was never happening for anybody else. So cheers. We got them on deck for 3 games. I'd like to win 2. We're probably going to win 1. That's just life. We got to get through it. Have a good weekend, guys. Do what you can. Manage yourself properly. Don't get too mad. Don't get too excited. We got to just stand our ground right now and let life be. And then once things turn around, then we could start talking about expectations. But for now, we'll leave you with that. We'll talk to you again on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern, live right here with hopefully good results.
It's true. And we'll see you on Monday. Goodbye, everybody.